Parent Season 3, Episode 6. And I did videos on Love and Marriage Huntsville. And also I did a video on Ready to Love, the reunion part 1. After this video, you'll see a link above my head. You can click on that link and you can watch my reviews on that as well. But this review is for Put a Ring on It. And so let's get into it. Boy, oh boy, this is getting good. We got into some real deep stuff this episode, and I got a lot to talk about, y'all. So normally my videos are only like 5 and 6 minutes or 10 minutes or something. It might be a bit longer, but hang in there with me. I'm gonna start with Kenny and Shorty because Shorty acted out big time in this episode. Now hear me out. Now, the first couple of episodes, we saw some real nasty underbelly, scary type stuff from Kenny. We saw all that bank account information. We saw about going on social media to her job, stealing her phone for 2 days, going through her phone. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. And we were all like, what is she doing with this crazy ass man? Why doesn't she leave him? And then when she tells the stories, she's telling the story, but I don't understand why she's not running from him. Well, now we're starting to find out a little bit more about Shorty. And let me tell you something. Kenny's behavior is horrible. The things he did, the way he responds to Shorty is horrible. And I even believe that his behavior is dangerous. So I said in the very beginning that Shorty needs to leave Kenny. But let me tell you something right now. Kenny also needs to leave Shorty. These two are doing really bad damage to each other. And if I'm really honest with you guys, I'm going to tell you something. I think the person with the bigger problem is Shorty. I sure did say it. I think it's Shorty. Because one of the things I say about it is can you take accountability for what you're doing? And do you even know what you're doing? When Kenny did all that crazy stuff and all that, he did say he regretted it. He did say he shouldn't have done it. He did say that it was wrong. But the stuff that Shorty is doing to Kenny, she don't feel like she's doing nothing wrong at all. That's why I say she has the bigger problem, because she's not even in the stage of awareness. Before you can even take accountability, you got to be aware of what you do. You got to be aware of what your hand is in the whole situation. And Shorty is sitting up here still thinking she's the victim, and she is not the only victim. She is a victim. She is definitely a victim of Kenny in some ways, but Kenny is also a victim of her. If you listen to Shorty, she's pretty much laid it out that her biggest problem with Kenny is that he hasn't stepped up. And to be honest with you, I haven't heard any other areas that Kenny hasn't stepped up besides the financial. Check me if I'm wrong, but besides the financial area, that is where I've heard Shorty talk about the most. In terms of maybe he's not making enough money, he's not responsible with money, but all of it seems to be surrounding money. I haven't heard of any other areas of their life where she says Kenny doesn't show up for her, Kenny doesn't do this, Kenny doesn't do that. It's all about money and finances. So if it's all about money or finances or whatever area it's about, what I'm saying is when you want a person to be a certain thing that they're not, and when they don't become that, which is what Shorty is saying, most of the time the emotion you would feel is disappointment, because you think a person could be here or should be here, but they're showing up down here. So what you're disappointed in the fact that they're here, but you want them to be here. But what Shorty is displaying on screen is not disappointment. She's showing anger. So where is all this anger coming from? I'm going to tell you where this anger is coming from. Because if it was disappointment, she wouldn't be this mad. I'm going to tell you where her anger is really coming from. Where her anger is really coming from is she is resentful of Kenny. And what she's resentful of is exactly the story she told us. She told us the story of the way that she was raised is if you do these things and you become all these people, then what you can do is you can go out in the world and you can expect that from other people. And that's what she's saying. That's why she doesn't like the fact that Kenny wants to so-called get women out of her leagues. She's basically saying the gall of him. How could he be out here in the world wanting to be with a certain woman up here when he's supposedly doing down here? Because remember, Shorty's system is you get what you give. And that is her system. Her resentment is coming from is that she believes she's all these things she's asking for of Kenny. But what she's resentful for is not that Kenny's not giving it to her, is that she can't get it, period. I'm talking about anywhere. And I don't believe this stuff about she's so-called in love with Kenny, she can't leave Kenny, and that Kenny somehow tricked her into this relationship. Let me tell you something. If you have 4 men lined up, and you have 4 choices of men, and one of them was the fake one, which is Kenny, but you had 3 other men out there who was the real deal. Let's say you did get tricked. Let's say you got tricked and you picked Kenny the dud. But let's say those other 3 men were still out there. If you really had those choices, you know what you would do? You would say, listen, I picked wrong. I picked the dud out of the group. Let me go back and get the real ones out of the group, the ones that I didn't look at. But that's not the problem that's going on with Shorty. Let me tell you what's going on with Shorty. Shorty has determined that she wants a particular type of guy. Shorty has determined she's done all these things in life. So she should now be able to reap the benefits and pick this type of man that she wants. But her problem is coming that those men aren't picking her. And now Kenny becomes the object of her anger. Kenny becomes the object of her not getting what she really wants and what she really thinks she deserves. Now she's blaming it on Kenny because Kenny isn't that for her. No, Shorty. Even if Kenny is not all those things, because I'm not going to judge whether he is or not. Even if he's not all those things, if you really believe you deserve it and you can get it somewhere else, you should be out there and getting it. But this is why she's angry. Because she's angry because even though Kenny isn't what she wants, she's recognizing that she hasn't had any better offers and she can't get what she wants. So her anger is not because of Kenny. Her anger and disappointment is because of a life she thought she would have. She doesn't have it. And let me tell you, when she's with Kenny, she feels like a failure. Kenny is a constant reminder of that what she thought she could have, she hasn't been able to attain. And she feels like the failure, and she's taking it out on Kenny. She's putting Kenny down and telling Kenny he ain't shit. But what she's really recognizing is that maybe she's not all that she thinks she is, because if she were all those things, why hasn't a guy chosen her for that? Kenny has become Shorty's punching bag for all her unrealized dreams she had of her life. And she's going to have to reconcile with that. It is not Kenny's job to live up to these so-called expectations and life plan that Shorty's has. It's Shorty's job to go out and find it for herself. And if Kenny's not that, Shorty should not continue to beat up on him. She should just leave. The problem that Shorty has is, I'm not going to say that Shorty overvalues herself. I'm not going to tell a woman that, you know what, you set your price too high. You know what, if you want to keep out here with this high-ass price and nobody wants to pay the price you asking, that's on you. I think Shorty's real problem is not that she elevates herself too high, but that she devalues things and qualities in men. I think she has determined a criteria of what's the most important and what she values, and she disregards everything else. Because I actually see some redeeming qualities in Kenny. I really do. He's always in there cooking for her. Louisiana man sure know how to cook. He's always cooking for her. He's always pandering to her. But in her mind, she has determined what's the most valuable, and everything else that Kenny's offering doesn't mean a damn to her. She doesn't value it. So her problem going out in the world is, you know what? Some people may say she overvalues herself. Some people may say she thinks too highly of herself. But let me tell you, she's got 2 gaps. The minute she keeps elevating herself here and the minute she keeps devaluing men, there's this big gap between the two. There's this big gap. Some people say she needs to come down off her high horse. I'm not of that belief. I'm saying, you know what? If you want to stay up there, stay up there. But I think what she needs to do is she needs to start seeing value in men that she doesn't have. And the value of men just isn't in their size of their wallet. When you reduce a man to his wallet, you're doing exactly what this other guy, Olajuwon, and Married at First Sight, I don't know if y'all watched that show, what he does to his wife, Katina. He devalues her sometimes, and he says, oh, because she can't cook and clean. It's the same thing. When a man puts a woman down because she can't cook and clean, he's devaluing all the other aspects of that woman. When Shorty devalues Kenny because of his wallet, she's devaluing all the other aspects of Kenny. But I think the reason Shorty doesn't leave Kenny is because the truth of the matter is she recognizes that she may not be able to get exactly what she wants out there, so she's resentful. She feels stuck. She doesn't want to be where she is, but she doesn't see that she's going to be able to get what she wants. And that's why she's stuck. That's why she keeps telling Kenny to leave, so that Kenny can do the work to get her unstuck. No, Shorty. If you so much of a boss woman, you big and you bold, you leave. You pull the trigger. But these two, they need to break up because they are both toxic for each other. Now, Shay and Alfonso, this one gonna be quick, but that stuff Shay started talking about, my spouse, Girl, you sounded crazy. A spouse and a boyfriend are not the same thing, and I don't know why you're trying to put them in the same bucket. Dr. Nicole, she did it very nicely and very professionally, and she said, I don't want to hurt your feelings or anything, but it's not the same thing. She said it a whole lot nicer than I'm saying it right now. Shay, you sound crazy. But I'm going to tell Shay she got another problem. She putting this whole thing about not feeling accepted by Alfonso's family on Alfonso. Shay, let me tell you something. It's just not Alfonso. That mother don't like you, and nobody on that side of that family wants to like you for whatever reason. Because let me tell you something. I got a family too. And even if I didn't want to introduce my husband, my boyfriend to my family, if I was living with that man, my mother would have come to my house to meet him. My sister would have come to the house. So you think it's all Alfonso that he needs to do the work. He can't do the work if that mother don't want to meet you, if that mother don't want to know you, if that mother don't want to see you, if that baby mama don't want to know you. You're asking Alfonso to do all this work, but what you're neglecting to find out, they don't like you. They don't like you. Now what you have to ask yourself is, do you want to be in a relationship and in a family where people don't already like you for whatever reason? For whatever reason. But this idea that it's all on Alfonso, a lot of it is on him. But let me tell you, he can't do what his mama don't want to do. If his mama don't want to meet you, he can't make his mama like you. Shay is hurt because she hasn't been accepted, and I understand it. But it's not all on Alfonso to do that. That's just like dating. Let's say you was dating a white guy and a white guy's family was racist and their parents didn't want to meet no black woman. It wouldn't be all on the man to make his racist parents accept you. That's ridiculous. It takes more for what Shay wants. And she's putting it all on Alfonso, and it's not all Alfonso. He got his own issues, but this problem being accepted by the family, Alfonso can't make his family accept her. And she needs to understand that. So she needs to do just like that aunt told her. Unless you can live with this for the next 2 years or 5 years, unless you can deal with a family that don't like you, you need to go ahead and move on. Shay need to move on. Charlana and Otis. I know Otis got this sage advice from his daddy, but let me tell you one thing he forgot to ask his daddy. How long did it take you to get there? And that's one thing I tell single people about married couple. When you look at a married couple and they've been married 40 years and they start telling you all the things they learned over 40 years, here's something you need to ask them, especially that daddy, how he learned to listen, how he learned to do all those things. You got to ask him, how long did it take you to do that? Some men don't learn those lessons until a year 10, year 15, year 20. That's a big piece of information you just forgot to ask him, because that's very important. And Otis started talking about, well, maybe his mother was a little bit easier to talk to than Charlana was. Nope. Sometimes women back there tolerated it longer, put up with it longer, and it gave that man time to finally come around. Some women have given men 5, 10, 15 years to get it right. And then that man does finally learn it. So when you come talk to them in year 40, yeah, they know it, but they didn't tell you when they learned it. But the difference between marriages then and marriages now, women aren't giving men that much time to learn it. That's one of the biggest differences. These men ain't changed. These men are the same men they've been since 30, 40 years ago. The difference is women gave men more time to learn it. And nowadays, women don't give men that much time. Another difference between those times and these times, it used to be a time when the women were more emotional in relationships. They were the more emotional creatures. And so it was the man who could bring balance. So you might have had a fiery woman, but if you had a grounded man, he was the one that came in and gave peace. He was able to bring the temperature down in the house. He was able to lower the pressure. But now what you have is you have a different dynamic between men and women in relationships. You have men who are just as fiery as women. You have women who are fiery. Sometimes the more emotional person in a relationship is no longer just the woman. Sometimes it's the man. So now who's going to bring the temperature down? Who's going to be the one that doesn't add fuel to the fire, as Otis's father would say? And the problem is, what Otis's father is saying is, Otis brings fuel to the fire. He doesn't bring the temperature down in the house. Sometimes he is the fire. Otis does have a real problem with accountability. He's clear on what he wants and what he needs and all these other kind of things, but he doesn't see the part, the hand he plays in everything. He wants this level of cooperation and perfection and behavior from Charlana, but he's not willing to give the same thing in return. And when he does mess up, he thinks he can come back and just apologize, and she's supposed to just flip back to the trusting and believing everything he says. It doesn't work that way, Otis. When you keep tearing down and you keep making mistakes, it erodes the trust and confidence in the relationship. And that's what's happening with Charlana right now. She doesn't even trust his apologies because he's given them before, but he turns around and he does the same behavior over and over. So when he comes and apologizes, he's like, well, I don't understand why she can't get over it. She can't get over it because she done stabbed her a million times already. He talking about he's stressful and he can't sleep and he don't want to go on and do this no more. He's probably right because he probably hasn't had this much heat on him until this whole relationship. Charlana's probably feeling good because she's feeling like, finally, I got somebody on my side, Dr. Nicole, to help. Otis is going to have to learn how to put some actions to go with these words, because he may can bring out the words and talk about how he's sorry and he doesn't want to do this, but he's going to have to put some action behind it, and he's going to have some action behind it that lasts more than 5 minutes. He comes and he apologizes and he thinks that should just wash all the sins away. You have to be consistent, and until you're consistent, then maybe you can expect something from different from Charlana. But what he wants to do is he wants to do the bare minimum, but then he wants Charlana to come in and do all the other heavy lifting. No, Charlana needs to see some consistency from Otis until she feels safe and secure to come back in and open up her heart again. And what Otis doesn't realize is he's got to provide that foundation, and he's got to do it over and over and over again till she feels comfortable stepping back out on that ledge. And until he gives her a sure foundation, she ain't gonna step back out there. I can tell already. But that's it, y'all. Be sure to watch my other videos. Here are the links up here. Talk to you later. Bye.